All right, here's a question for you. How much is a piece of paper worth? Now, I have a box of paper right here. There are 176 sheets of paper in this box. And if I were to pull out one of these sheets of paper and look at it, I think most of us probably would agree, depending on how much you paid for that box of paper, most of us would agree that this particular piece of paper probably is worth a fraction of a penny. But if I were to take this piece of paper and if it were to get torn, if it were to get dirty, if it were to get used, if it were to get crumpled up in some way, most of us would say that this particular piece of paper has no value. In fact, paper like this always gets thrown into the trash. And so, single sheets of paper really don't have a whole lot of value to them. Well, I guess it depends on what kind of paper it is, right? Pulling another piece of paper out of my pocket a minute ago, I realized that this particular piece of paper has much more value than one of those pieces of paper, even though it's only half the size. And the reason is because of the image that's printed on this particular piece of paper. And unlike this other piece of paper, if this piece of paper were to get scrumpled up, if it were to get dirty, if it were to get wet, if it were to get something on it or stained or even torn, it still winds up having the same value. And the reason is because of the image on this particular piece of paper. You know, this reminds me of the value that we have to God. The Bible says that you have been created in the image of God, which means you bear the image of God, whether you realize it or not. In fact, all human beings have been created in the image of God, which means you are valuable, you are priceless to God. And this is part of the reason why the Bible instructs us to treat each other with honor and with dignity, because you have inherent honor and dignity being created in the image of God. And so, when you look in the mirror, don't ever tell yourself the lie that you have no value to God. No matter how crumpled up, no matter how torn, no matter how tattered you get, God still values you and God still finds you priceless. In fact, so much so that He sent Jesus to die on the cross for you. He paid the highest price for you because you are priceless to Him. And He wanted to provide a means for your redemption. And so Jesus died on the cross, He was buried, He rose up from the grave because you are priceless to God. So the next time you open your wallet, the next time you open your pocket and you see one of these sheets of paper, be reminded of this and be encouraged.